Do you ever feel like you're experiencing Groundhog Day? Like just going through the same motions, revisiting the same old patterns in yourself, wondering, is it ever going to change? Well, get this right and you'll move on from these repeating cycles, keeping you from the life that you want. But get this wrong and you'll have to replay them and all of the pain that comes with that until the lesson is learned. So, to help you navigate life's tests, I'm going to attempt to download almost a decades worth of yogic experience into you in 10 minutes or less. And to do that, I'm going to pose 3 very important questions. Firstly, I'm going to tell you the one thing that's restricting your growth currently. Secondly, I'm going to reveal the paradox that keeps you stuck in a reality that you don't prefer. And finally, I'll show you the final test the universe will give you before your reality shifts. So, without further ado, let's dive straight in. What is this one thing that restricts your growth? If you can't accept the moment as it is, you're going to be miserable. It's that simple. And that's because you'll be rejecting your experience and invalidating it. Now, because you are your experience, you will be, therefore, rejecting yourself. And your life should be miserable if you're going to reject yourself away from the one energy that's underpinning and sustaining all of life. That's actually a deep act of unconditional love from life. To remind you that when you're in pain or suffering, you're not actually in your natural state. Now, there are 2 separate and distinct paths that we can take in our life to determine whether we can stay in a blissful state or not. The first one is the path to misery, and the second one is the path to joy. Now, the path to misery is a great, yet frankly brutal teacher, and I've walked this path so many times, people watching me, around me in my life must think that I enjoy it. But just as easily as I contribute to my own misery, I can also activate joy in myself too. And it's much, much simpler than you might think. And it goes a little like this. Firstly, and this one's crucial, I accept what is. Secondly, this causes an opening and an expansion of my body and my mind, and I begin feeling centered in well-being, which leads to the third step, which keeps me inspired towards action, enabling growth and development. And finally, this leads to satisfaction and joy. But we must take this a step further to see more of the profound shifts that we're wanting in our lives. So let's talk about that paradox I talked about earlier, the paradox that keeps you stuck. Well, there is power in paradox, and you're going to be stuck in a reality you don't prefer until you confront this one. It's funny how life works. One time on my early spiritual path, I wasn't taking much responsibility for my life. I was caught between 2 lives, the life I had lived pre-awakening and the new beginning that was calling to me post-awakening experience. I kept getting called to start my own yoga business, but I was so scared of failing that I was just frozen in procrastination. And boy, if there was a champion procrastinator, it would have been me. No, but naturally this led to my bank balance running very low. But this was the best thing that could ever happen to me, because finally my bank balance had got down to £10. I was broke. It was rock bottom for me. But luckily at the time I was still living with my parents, otherwise I'd have been homeless. But I was guided to open up the food cupboard, so as I shuffled my depressed little feet over to the food cupboard and opened it up, this feeling of gratitude and tears rolled down my face as the realization overcame me. I still had food. I can actually feel the goosebumps in my body right now as I remember this experience. Now, from there, I got this intuitive sense to go down to the local yoga studio and just see if they had any positions available. And, of course, such is life, they had been fretting and waiting for somebody exactly like me. Go figure. So the day I was grateful for having basically nothing was also the moment that my life and the trajectory of my life began to shift for me. I now had a yoga business, one of the dreams that I've been putting off for a very, very long time. So the lesson here, your life won't change until you can be grateful for where you are. So cultivate that state of gratitude for what you have, but be in a state of being of openness for more. And this is really what prayer is about anyway. Now, your life doesn't have to hit rock bottom before you find your calling like mine did. if you take action. So if you're ready to take your spiritual development seriously and begin uncovering your life's purpose, you can apply for the Freedom Blueprint program, and the link for that is down below. Now, it's great to feel great, but being grateful for where you are still isn't the final test the universe gives you before your reality shifts. So what is the final test before your reality shifts? First, a question. Is your well-being your priority, or is the manifestation? Listen, anything you do, anything you want because of how you believe it will make you feel. A lot of the time, we want to manifest something out of the feeling of lack. We don't feel that we have enough, and therefore we want more. A good example is money. But you may have heard this idea. It's not what happens to you that matters, it's what you do with what happens that matters. Which doesn't exactly fill us with joy, does it? It kind of presupposes that the only control you have is your response to life. But that really is the only control we have. Think about it. These teachings aren't here to show you that you don't have control. They're actually asking you to surrender to the control you actually and really do have. And that's your response ability. Your ability to respond to life. And that's in your control. It's your free will. And in your response, you become. And there's no circumstance that you can't use. So let me give you an example from my life. Now, I was deep in the dark night of the soul at this point, and I was in so much emotional pain. The one thing I really wanted from my life was to feel good. But as I looked around in my life, all I could see was lack. So I really was not in a reality where I was happy by any stretch of the imagination. And this is where you can use something called imagineering your life. What I really wanted was abundance. And I noticed that I had an abundance of pain. So I used that. Every time I would notice pain in my system, I would thank the pain for another abundant opportunity to learn how to respond to it differently. Now, over a period of time, I kept bringing that feeling of gratitude around my pain, and that shifted my state to be such that my circumstances began to change too, and they began to change quite fast. See, it's not the circumstances that matters, it's our state of being that matters. Paradoxically, when you make your state of being the priority, the circumstances must follow suit. Now, if you can really get this and live in alignment with this, your life will begin unfolding in wild and miraculous ways quite quickly. And if you want to make your state of being matter, we can show you some powerful tools to shift your state of being instantly in our free Spiritual Accelerator course. The link for that is down below. So if your reality is about to shift, you'll be seeing signs and synchronicities. But 99% of people don't know the secrets that synchronicity holds. So if you'd like to find out for yourself, you can watch this video right here.